that you have allowed us to discern your truth. We thank you, O King, for your Torah that you have given us, for it is the way that you have provided for us to righteousness. And Master, as we live in this exile, we thank you that you will have taught us your ways and that we are attempting to live by them, O King, even though in this exile, in this diabolical and unclean land, that you said we would eat unclean foods. Master, that we can't keep all of your laws, so we are in sin, O King, but we know that you are merciful and that your hands are not too short to deliver. We thank you, Master, that you have had mercy upon us, that you have renewed them daily, O King. And we come before you today just giving thanks on your set apart day, that you said that you made the world in 6 days, and on the seventh day that we shall rest and we shall congregate. And we hear thy voice, O King, for we know that we don't live by bread alone, but every word that proceedeth out of thy mouth. And you have told thy prophets, O King. You told them, Master, that no man could die for your sin, but every man must die for their own sins. Master, we believe thy word that you are going to come back for the remnant of Israel, that you have scattered amongst the Gentiles, O King. And we are thy remnant, O King. Oh, Master, we ask that you would continue to lead us and guide us, and that you would strengthen our leadership of this house. We thank you, Master, that you have given it to us for a place that we could congregate, that we could gather together and bless your name, Master. For we bless thy name, O King. We bless the name of Yahweh, and we thank you, Master, for all things. We thank you for life, health, and strength, food, clothing, and shelter, knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. We thank you that you have taken us out of idolatry, O King. We thank you for keeping our children who traverse throughout this land all week long, but yet you brought them home to us safely, Master. And not only did you keep them, but you kept us. You clothed us in our right minds, O King, and you provided us with food to strengthen our bodies and raiment to clothe our nakedness and shelter that we may shield us from the elements, Master. We ask that you would continue to touch them that are sick that belong to this house, Sister Cheryl and Sister Deb and Sister Gail, Master. We ask that you would look upon their family in their times right now, that they have lost a loved one, Master, and that you would have mercy upon them and strengthen them, O King. Master, we ask that you continue to go with us and strengthen us and bind us together with cords of love that cannot be broken until we can meet here again. This is our prayer. Amen.
Shabbat Shalom to everyone today. Good to see those of you who are here and made it in a timely fashion. We're going to continue our reading from the love story in Songs of Solomon, chapter number 2. You can read along with me if you would. I am but a rose from the Sharon, just a lily in the valleys. He, like a lily among thorns, is my darling among the other women. She, like an apple tree among the other trees in the forest, is my darling among other men. I love to sit in his shadow, his fruit sweet to my taste. He brings me to the banquet hall, his banner over me is love. Sustain me with raisins and refresh me with apples, for I am sick with love. I wish his left arm were under my head and his right arm under me. I warn you, daughters of Jerusalem, by the gazelles and the deer and the wilds, not to awaken or stir up love until it wants to arise. The voice of the man I love, here he comes, bounding over the mountains, skipping over the hills. My darling is like a gazelle, a young stag. There he is, standing outside our wall, looking through the windows, peering through the lattice. My darling speaks. He says, he is saying to me, get up, my love, my beauty, and come away. For you see that the winter has passed and the rain is finished and gone. The flowers are appearing in the courtside. The time has come for the birds to sing. The cooing of doves can be heard in the land. The fig trees are forming their unripened figs. The grapevines in bloom give out their perfume. Get up, my love, my beauty, and come away. My dove, hiding in holes in the rocks, in the secret recesses of the cliff, let me see your face and hear your voice. For your voice is sweet and your face is lovely. She, catch the foxes for us. Yes, the little foxes. They are ruining the vineyards. when our vineyards are in bloom. My darling is mine, and I am his. As he pastures his flock among the lilies, before the daytime breeze arises and the shadows flee, return, my love, like a stag or a gazelle on the hills of Beter. And there we'll end the reading of the love song in the Songs of Solomon. You may be seated. It's great once again to be able to assemble in the place that the Most High has provided for us to gather and to assemble and bring worship and bring the teachings of the Most High to his people. I want to give a shout out to a person that lives in Bristol, Virginia. Her name is Wanda Washington. Wanda, if you're online today, I want to wish you well and bless you from the Most High. And thank you for your participation online with the ministry that, as she writes, it has helped me so much and is helping her there in Bristol as she listens in, and she has purchased the calendar and the things that we're talking about here at First Tabernacle Fellowship. And there's also a book or two books that are online that you can purchase also that you probably haven't heard us talk about here in our regular service. We talk about it in the podcast, but a book that's called In Defense of the Messiah that I've written that talks about why Jesus can't be God, and Torah for Hebrews in Exile, which is a book that gives you an explanation of the mitzvot that we can participate in this exile, and explains their intent and purpose. Those might be helpful to you also. So we are trying here to reach the Father's people wherever they are in the land, where they have access to the internet and can participate in what we're doing. There's a pastor in Eldoret, Kenya, who also has written me for information since I went online and I saw your website and your teachings there, and he says, I've shared them with my congregation and with people here all around me. He says, I was Catholic. He says, but the information has caused me to look at and to become quite engrossed in the teachings that you're teaching there. Is there anything that you can send me to help me in my journey? And I responded back to him. I says, well, if you have the internet and you can write me an email, then you can go online and you can listen to our teachings there online at Yahwehs Exiled Empire and Hebrews in Exile. But anyway, people are finding and wanting to know. With no further ado from me today, I am going to turn this I'm going to turn this stage over to the teacher that has been teaching the Torah so well, Moreh Sean Appleton.
Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom to all of you today. To the beneficent, the Most High Yahweh, who has allowed us to be here one more again, just to tell it like a T.I. is, who has allowed us to observe his misfolks, who's been the progenitor of our lifestyle, our way of thinking as Hebrews, who has established the eternal people amongst all the nations and set them apart to be his only treasure.
That Elohim is the one I give all honor and thanks to today, the one that created everything in 6 days. You know the one that I'm talking about. Everybody's familiar with that power, right? I call him a power because he's not a man. And he's not a girl either. God is a woman. No, he's not. No, nor he's a man either. Doesn't have a gender. It's power. Okay? So to that one, I refer to him as him, the Father, as a pejorative term, not to describe what he actually is. To that power, I say thank you for allowing me to be here today. For all of you that are joining us by way of the stream, those of you that could not be here because of some ailment or couldn't be here because you're observing the mitzvot that may not allow you to be here today, Shabbat Shalom to all of you, and also to those individuals that are in an area where you just cannot congregate, that doesn't allow itself for you to congregate because there's literally no congregation to go to. Our online family, we want to tell you Shabbat Shalom to you. To all of the individuals that are keyboard warriors that have decided to show up today to either be a detractor or criticize or whatever you may want, or you're just curious and you have a skeptical mind, Shabbat Shalom to all of you. And I can't leave out all the lazy among us. Yes, all of you that are joining by way of the stream that know you should be in a congregation, for some petty reason you have decided not to. And I said that correctly. For some petty reason you have decided not to. Notice I didn't say come to FTF. I said congregate. That's observing the mitzvot. How dare you call yourself a Hebrew and you decide that, oh, because of some petty reason, I'm not going to observe the mitzvot, to congregate. Okay? Is there not a mitzvot? I'm looking at this dear sister here. Is there not a mitzvot that speaks to Hebrew people that says when you see your brother doing something that you are to rebuke him frankly? Am I not doing that right now? Okay? I'm following the mitzvot. I'm well within my rights to say what I'm saying. For some petty reason that you've decided not to show up, Shabbat Shalom to all of you. Hopefully going through these mitzvot will continue to establish a relationship where that becomes more of a conviction for you. Okay? So, Shabbat Shalom to all of you, to all of our descendants that are here and those that are not here with us today. Shabbat Shalom to all of you. Hopefully you will hear something that will help you stand on the shoulders of giants and see further. Shabbat Shalom. Now, I don't know who's actually going to be standing for this next piece. I think all the gray-haired people are actually here. Stand to your feet. Let's observe the mitzvot in Vayikra chapter number what? Is it 19 and what? 32. And it says what? You are to stand in the midst of those who have what? Gray hair, and show them respect, because I am Yahweh, your Elohim. I'm giving you this edict. So turn to the person that's closest to you that has gray hair, look them in the eye, and sincerely, out of the kindness of your heart, tell them, Shabbat Shalom. All right, all right. For all of you that are joining us here, I want to acknowledge the dignitaries in the room and give an accolade. I want to acknowledge Moray Gerald Beacom, who is joining us today by way of the, I wanted to go into that whole church thing. He's joining us by way of the Shabbat Shalom to you, sir. To the Honorable Moray Trey Beverly, who did a stupendous job last week teaching. Shabbat Shalom to you, sir. At the end of his teaching, I made mention of something that I actually want to clean up. I don't know, I think it got on the stream, but if you heard me say something after the Moray spoke, I said something about books, Hebrew books, that are actually mentioned inside of our scripture, right? We talked about the Annals of the Kings, all right, in his dissertation. And I said that there's, this is evidence here that shows that there are extra Hebrew books. Let me say something that's going to clean something up a little bit, okay? Yes, there are extra Hebrew books that are talked about within the text, is it not? Correct. There is a book in particular called the Book of Yasher that is quoted quite a bit. I'm going to give you my personal stance on the Book of Yasher. Is there a Book of Yasher? Yes. Do I personally believe that the current version of the Book of Yasher that is available to us is the correct one? No. Okay? There are things that are in that book that are blatantly going against the ways of the Most High. You need to be careful when you're reading the current version of the Book of Yasher. Okay? There is a Book of Yasher, but the current one is not correct. Okay? So it's been tampered with. It's got some things in it. It's not valid. Okay? So just keep that in mind. When you're observing other books, if the books don't line up with the ways of the Most High, then so be it. I can say the same thing about this book right here. We use this book all the time. This book is invalid. It has some things in it right now that you know good and well that don't line up with the Most High. But it's what? What's inside of it? You got the Hebrew text that's actually inside of it. It's right at the front. So in this particular instance, this is what we do here. We pull out what's good and leave the bad behind. We don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Okay? So when you're observing these other books, you're going to have to do the same. You're going to have to pick the bones, or at least take the meat off the bones and throw the bones away. Okay? All right. We good? Good. I just want to clean that up a little bit. So, Shabbat Shalom to you. That was my whole entire piece. And when I got there, I said, I'm going to have to give you an acknowledgement. You did an awesome job last week, sir. To Bruh Charles, because you don't let us acknowledge you any other way. Shabbat Shalom to you. To the Honorable Robert B. Holman Jr., Shabbat Shalom to you, sir. To our studio audience here that is joining us, Shabbat Shalom to you. We are going to be interactive. I do not want to dilly-dally today because we've got quite a few mitzvot to go through, and we've got 3 criteria we've got to meet on each individual mitzvot. What are they? We have to understand them. We have to understand the intent behind them. And then we also have to understand their present day application, right? Okay, so we're going to go through all of them in that particular fashion and in that order. Understanding, intent, and total application this day and age, okay? All right. And sometimes we may get a little out of order with that because right off the bat, you'll be like, no, we can't do this one in exile. It'll be so apparently obvious to you, okay? Now, prior to that, if you are inquiring about the calendar, for those of you that are watching by way of the stream, the calendar is live. You can go to HebraicCalendar.com. Now, my production manager in the back is putting it on the screen. So for those of you that are joining me here, make sure you go and watch the YouTube of this because it has the address and everything on there that you can go to for the Hebraic calendar for the 2026-2027 calendar year, okay? Even if you don't agree with it, you can still use it. It's got nothing but just text, scripture text that talks about how you are the Most High's people, how you are set apart, okay? So it still can be used both ways. So at any rate, it's out and it's available because I know there's some individuals that were asking about the calendar and where it is and how you can get it. There are a couple of options there. You can get the calendar as a hard copy. You can get the calendar as a digital copy, and you can get both the digital and the hard copy. There's an option for that, okay? So just so you know, that's out there. Now, let's get back into where we were. Where were we? And there was a hush in Israel. Where in our journey? Matter of fact, before I even get into that, we're going to go through chapters number 21 and 22 of Shemote. That's where we are right now. Okay? I'm going to jump right in. 21 and 22 of Shemote. Uh-oh, my screen's not working. What is this? Don't you love technology? Yeah, she froze up. I'm going to start her over again. That's horrible. Okay, we're going to have to bring this back up. We're in 21 and 22 of Shemote. Now, we can do this while this is rebooting up over here on the side, because all I'm trying to do over here is show you the map. Okay, where are we at? Where's Hebrew Israel at right now in chapter number 21 and 22? Where have we been? What's happened prior to now? First of all, let's establish where we're at. What are we doing right now as Hebrew Israel? We're receiving the mitzvot from the Most High. Okay, that's good. We're receiving the mitzvot from the Most High. So we've instantiated this particular idea that, number one, when we opened the book of Shemote, we had Moshe. We see the inception of Moshe. We also see the inception of Moshe's commission. We see Moshe acquire his family. We see Moshe and how he was integrated, obviously, into the political scheme of Egypt. We see the deliverance or the birthing of a nation, okay, of Hebrew Israel from Mitzrayim, where they were foreigners in that particular land. We see that. They are transversing through the desert. We see the Most High working wonders where he split three bodies, or matter of fact, he did wonders with three types of water. One, he split the water, right? When their backs were up against the sea, he split the water. That's the first wonder. Second one was what? When they went to Marah, I think that's where that was, and the water was bitter, and the Most High had Moshe do what? Put the tree branch in the water, right? And the waters became potable. Then you have the third one where they were crying out for water and whatnot, and the Most High provided it, correct? So we've got those three particular things that have actually happened thus far. And then we get to the point where in chapter 19 of Shemote, where our ancestors go to the foot of the mountain to meet the Most High. I got to change this real quick, y'all. Bear with me. Bear with me. Since I have to reset everything. 2, all right. Okay, I think we're good now. All right. Okay, all right, here we go. There we are. So, we're out Mount Horeb, and they are set apart for how many days? Putting it on my hand, 3. They had to set apart for 3 days. They had to be clean before the Most High. And then Moshe goes and talks to the Most High. Most High says, build that perimeter around the base of the mountain so nobody could come up. Tell him to go back down. He goes back down. He comes back up. He has to go back up again with the elders, which we're going to see. And then also what ends up happening here is when he goes down and he talks to all of the people, he tells them what the Most High actually says. And actually, at the end of the day, we have the Most High in 20 meeting with Hebrew Israel, right? And he meets them for the first time. And that's why I'm saying chapter number 20 of Exodus or Shemote, however you want to call it, is one of those chapters that you have to remember. Bereshit, chapter number 17, or Genesis, chapter number 17, is a pivotal chapter to remember. What's in 17? The covenant is in 17, all right? Between whom? Abraham and the Most High. That's in 17 of Bereshit. 20 is pivotal because it's kind of the official start of when the Most High starts issuing mitzvot to Hebrew Israel. All right, you've got a couple of mitzvot that come prior to that, because you see in chapters number 12 and 13 where they get the mitzvot on Pesach. Okay, so if you want to be technical about it, they got some mitzvot prior to that, but as an official nation, as the Most High coming down to meet them for the first time, he meets them and he says the famous what? The famous 10, what they call the 10 commandments. We don't call it the 10 commandments over here. We know that there's not a number that the Most High has placed on the commandments. He didn't say, 613. And I think our head Moreh here has also said that amongst the rabbis, they don't agree on which 613 they actually are. Like some of them are different when you go from one rabbi to another rabbi, okay? If you're in Judaism, just know that. So in 20, We see the Most High meeting Hebrew Israel. He gives them the first set of mitzvot, right? What happens next? Hebrew Israel does something. They say to the Most High, we don't want to talk to you directly because you actually have we're scared, okay? We're so scared that we don't want to talk to you kind of face to face, all right? So they send who? Moshe. Moshe now is going to talk to the Most High. All that you say, we will do. That's been committed, all right? That's where we are right now. So we've gotten through 19 and 20. We've got the setup where they're getting ready to meet the Most High, where they're coming clean. When the Most High meets them for the first time, we have this transition in 20 where Moshe now is going to talk to the Most High and get the mitzvot from the rest of the mitzvot. Let me say that. I got to emphasize that word. The rest of the mitzvot. Not the first 10 like y'all are saying over there across the street. He gets the first 10 are the ones that they speak face to face about. These next set is the one that Moshe went and got from the Most High to go back and relay to Hebrew Israel, okay? All right. That's where we are in 21. Let's pick it up. Let's follow our particular order here. Now, let me do one thing here. I want to say something in regards to how we want to look at this. All right. I don't think I was going to bring it this. I was going to save this for the podcast. I had a major win this week. I had a major win this week. I am studying one of the 4 languages that I speak this week. And there was something that was said that made me think totally different about that language. And once I started understanding the formula upon which that language is spoken, my whole entire mind changed. My whole entire way of thinking changed. I'm saying that because you cannot use your Greek westernized mind and apply it to Hebrew Israel. Okay, me and my wife were talking about this morning. Why is it so hard for them across the street to come over here? And this is coming off of a conversation that my wife had with my moray earlier this week about selling his book. How come you don't want to sell your book? Oh, every time I give this book to somebody, they end up leaving. I never hear from them again. In defense of y'all read In Defense of Messiah, right? Honorable Robert B. Holman Jr. wrote. So why is it so hard for them to come over here? Come on. Y'all act like y'all have never run into some folks that are Christian. Why is it hard for the Christian mind to acquiesce to being Hebrew? They put JC's ways over the Most High's. And actually, I want to add to that, brother, and actually emphasize something. It's not the ways of JC. It's the ways of Paul. Because this is what happens over there. JC out of his own mouth can tell you, follow the mitzvot. I have a Yah. I can only say these things that the Most High tells me to say, right? He says all these, I am not El. Matter of fact, read Matthew chapter 19 where he says, there's only one that is good and I'm not him. He can say it out of his mouth. But something says to you, even though your JC says that you got to run to Paul and see what Paul says. See, Paul doesn't, even JC and Paul are in the same boat. Even if it's like, you know what, how many of y'all had this? Some of y'all are parents. I've had this happen to me. Even I do it to my parents. Mom, Dad said I couldn't, but can I? That is what Paul is doing, JC and Paul are doing. JC is telling you something and you're running to Paul and say, well, Dad said I couldn't, or Dad told me to do this. What do you say, Paul? That's what's happening over there. So that's part of the reason, or adding to what you're saying. Come on, what are some other reasons why they can't come over acquiesce? Yes, sir. Okay, so they don't know the context and conditions upon which the Bible was composed and who composed it. Okay.
Because
What else? No, it's on. So I can hear you. You're already on.
because
You're just not loud.
because they're followers of hearsay
They're followers of hearsay
and not students or studiers of Scripture,
and not studiers of Scripture.
and they are following a norm
Mm-hmm.
that has been handed down to them that they believe to be true because their pastor says it's true.
Pastor says it's true. And these are all good answers. There's not one that's wrong. Yes, sir. He said there are monkeys that have never been sprayed with a water hose. Now, you would have to know the backstory behind that comment. Monkeys that have never been sprayed with the water hose. One of these days, you're going to get me to tell that story again. Or I might have to have him tell it at the end of the day. Okay, so there are a bunch of parakeets over there. All right? Monkeys that have never been sprayed. What else? Anybody else? Yes, ma'am. Structure. Anybody else? Beautiful comment. Yes. Let me give you my 2 cents. You live in reality. Your reality is the United States of America, where you get to do anything you want to do. Nobody can tell you what to do. Your religion follows that same idea, but kind of adds a little bit more to it. Think about this. I'm in a religion that allows me to blame my faults on the devil. The devil made me do it. There was some type of influence that I had that I can't take accountability for. I'm blaming someone else. Christianity is the religion of non-accountability. Because then at the end of the day, if I have to atone for what I did, who do I blame it on? Who do I put it on? JC. He paid it all. So you're not going to tell me to do anything. And then you have this idea that's instantiated that says, okay, all those rules and regulations have been done away with and we can't do any amendments to them at all. It sounds like to me, and you've heard this before, it sounds like to me that you guys are in some strict type of cult, something that says it's oppressive at the end of the day because it doesn't allow you to have the freedom to do whatever you want to do. Right? You're applying your Western mind to something Hebraic, okay? You think you live in a democratic society where the majority rules. When you're reading text, it's not the majority rules. It's Yahweh rules. It's whatever his edicts say. And when you have somebody that can be up on the hill, up at Bay City, Bayside up there, will sit in front of that pulpit and say, there's no ancient God that's going to tell me what I can and cannot eat. Okay? You can't take this, what's my point? You can't take this westernized mind and apply it over here. It won't work. Okay? You're going to reject it every single time. So, what did we do last time? I said, do this. What are we going to do? We're going to put on our Hebrew hat, okay? And we're going to think Hebrew contextually, culturally, language. All of it is Hebrew. Okay? Man. All right. So I want to establish that first. We're thinking Hebraically as we move forward. All right. We ready? Let's jump into 21. Let's learn these mitzvot. And you guys, matter of fact, make sure that these microphones are up if you could. In the back, we are going to have a bunch of banter today. There's going to be at some point in 22 where there's going to be probably a big mid-rash at the end of the day in 22. But we got to get there first. Let's start right at the top. So Moshe's gone to the Most High to get the rest of the commandments, not just the first 10 that the Most High spoke. This is the continuation of this, right? Okay. 21. If you purchase a Hebrew slave, he is to work 6 years, but in the 7th year, he is to be given his freedom without having to pay anything. If he came single, he can leave single. if he was married when he came, his wife is to go with him when she leaves. But if his master gave him a wife and she bore him sons and daughters, then the wife and her children will belong to her master, and he will leave by himself. Nevertheless, if the slave declares, I love my master, my wife, and my children, so I don't want to go free, then his master is to bring him before El. And there at the door, on the doorpost, his master is to pierce his ear with an awl, and the man will be his slave for life. Okay. Understanding. Okay. Is there anything in there that we don't understand as a protocol when it comes to a slave, right, that was purchased, how long they will be in servitude, and how they are to handle treating their children, his wife and children, if he's given a wife? I think it's pretty clear. Now, we need to get to the intent and application. Let's start with the application first. Can you do this in exile? Absolutely not. That should be a no. Why are you guys all just kind of looking like, No. Can you do this in exile? No, you can't do this in exile. Okay. So we've established that first. Now we need to get to the intent of what's happening here, okay? Let's go back and pick it apart. It says, if you purchase a Hebrew slave, now my Mora in the back said Hebrew slave, okay? Hebrew slave. Said he is to work 6 years, but in the 7th year, he is given his freedom without having to pay anything. Why are you a slave in the first place as a Hebrew? I'm paying a debt back. I've gotten to some type of financial trouble where I need to work this off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into servitude for you for X amount of years. We have mitzvot that will come up later on that talk about in what year? The 7th year, the Shemote year, where all the debts and these individuals go free, okay? So this mitzvot lines up with further mitzvot that are going to come down the line. It says he's going to be given his freedom without paying anything. So he would have paid his debt off. Okay, and you also have to be cognizant in Hebrew Israel, these 7 years come every 7 years. It is not as if you go into servitude today and your 7 years starts today. We got to figure out when the Shemote year is. Okay, if the Shemote year is actually in 3 years from now, okay, we also have to take that into consideration as well when we're applying this mitzvah. Okay, but assuming this is starting here with 6 years of servitude, right? And then in the 7th year, he'll be given his freedom, saying it's starting at that particular time, at the beginning of the Shemote year, because I know that there's going to be a little bit of discussion about that, but with that particular mitzvah and the one that's going to come later. But let's just stick here, okay? It says, if he came single, he is to leave single. If he was married when he came, his wife is to go with him when he leaves. What is the intent of this mitzvah? We're trying to establish the continuation or the cohesiveness of the family, something they didn't do in modernized slavery in this country, right? They broke them families up easy, okay? We're establishing some type of humaneness when treating even your people that are working for you. You're going to keep that family together. If he came with a wife, he's going to leave with his wife. But if he didn't come with a wife, he can leave by himself. But if, here in 4, but if his master gave him a wife, if he's given a wife, and she bore him sons or daughters, then the wife and her children will belong to her master. Why? Because they're his, and there's probably this idea, I'm just saying this, that she's also a slave too, and she has to work off her debt. So she's still under the master's, for lack of eloquence, priority. Thank you. Authority. So she's still under his authority. That's why she's still his, I don't like using this word property, but she's still working for him, okay? It says, then the wife and her children will belong to the master, and he will leave by himself. Nevertheless, now this says, okay, I love my wife that you gave me. This is the next part it's talking about. In the event that, nevertheless, if the slave declares, I love my master, my wife and my children, so I don't want to go free. Then his master will bring him before El, and there at the door doorpost, his master is to pierce his ear with an awl, and the man will be his slave for life. So he's committing himself to a lifelong servitude because he has to love his master first, okay? Or he's got to wait until his wife gets somehow, maybe acquires her freedom some kind of way. Yes, sir. And the all makes it a blood covenant. How do we also know that this is done in the land? Right at that last piece, it says, then the master is to bring him before El. Where is El? In the land. At the tabernacle. That is where El is. Okay? So this has to be done in the land. That's why you can't do it in exile. Even if you wanted to. Try to somehow quasi-apply it. You couldn't. All right? Intent. We're keeping the family unit together, and we're establishing some type of humaneness between those that work for us and treating them in a way that's respectful. Okay? That's the intent behind this. Okay? Keeping that particular aspect in check. We good. Let's move. It says 7, if a man sells his daughter as a slave, let's stop. How many of you have daughters? Nobody has a daughter in here. There's 2 people in here that have daughters. You would sell them for what? Why are you selling them? Why would you sell your daughter? Okay. You sell her for marriage? Sell her. It says if a man sells his daughter as a slave. First of all, you've got to be in a real rough spot to even consider selling your family member off as a slave to either pay back whatever or whatever restitution that has to be made where she has to go into slavery for it. This is a bad situation right here. So this kind of sets up to me, okay, if your ways please me, I'm going to give you the desires of your heart, that whatever is going on with this individual, something's falling short. Okay? So we got to get there first. It says she is not to go free like the men slaves. If his master married her, but decides decides she no longer pleases him. Now, her status changed from a slave to a what? A wife. Now, in Hebrew Israel, wives have rights to inherit. Their children have rights to their inheritances. Yes. Yeah, I'd have to. My first reaction to the comment, good comment, by the way. And for those that are online, the ambassador back there is talking about an event of an arranged marriage. If I can repeat back what you're saying. In the event of an arranged marriage, it may not be so bad. But I need to go back to the first statement in the sentence. It says he's selling her as a slave, not an arranged marriage situation. And then I also have to go back and see if there are any mitzvot that speak to arranged marriages in Hebrew Israel. And I don't think that there are any mitzvot that talk about arranged marriages.
And the reason why I brought that up is because even here it says if her master marries her.
Right.
So there could be a case where if the man wants to give his daughter to a person that he sees to be her husband, she's his servant for those years, and if he decides to marry her, then there's rules that go along with that. So I don't know. I just wouldn't say that it's instantly.
You're just saying it's not instantly a bad thing in your mind.
Yes,
Okay. Okay.
The term slave sounds bad. But yes, it does.
Yeah, because you think of our institutionalized slavery here.
Let's look at the Hebraic word that we're using here. We're using the word ebed. Ebed does not transliterate to slave. It translates to servant, which is a much cleaner and much better
Yeah.
word.
And I'm glad that you brought that up. We need to make kind of that distinction. That
Yeah.
slave, when you think of, because we have such a closeness with that word here that's negative.
Yeah.
Here in westernized culture, yes, it's more of a servitude situation
It's
than a servant style, not a.
It's the same way
Yeah.
in which that most Bibles and even Stern transliterates Elohim to God. It's not God, it's Elohim.
Right. Right.
You know, so in this particular case, the Ebed is not slave. It translates and transliterates to be a servant. So the text should read,
If a man sells his daughter as a servant.
when you buy a Hebrew servant, that's what it should read.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. Verse 8. It says, if her master, I want to go back to that, marries her, but decides she no longer pleases him. And again, I stopped there because I said her status changed from a servant. Let's use that parlance now. From a servant to a what? A wife. So at this particular point, I'm saying here, I'm standing on business here by saying this is how she gains her freedom. Because look, it says, if a man sells his daughter as a slave, she is not to go free like the men slaves. So if he marries her and then divorces her, is she still a slave? Or is she still a servant? No, she's free. Okay, because her status changed. Okay, so since her status changed and he went ahead and he now has married her, and then it says, then he is allowed to marry, then he is to allow her to be, he is not. Where are you doing that? It says 8. If her master married her, but decides she no longer pleases him, then he is to allow her to be redeemed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Then the next verse.
He is not allowed to sell her to a foreign people because he has treated her unfairly. So I'm getting rid of her because I don't like her, and I'm going to go ahead and sell her off to a foreigner. You can't do that, okay? It says because he is on the fact that, and on the, I'm mistreating her somehow, now I need to get rid of her. If, and I hate using these terms, uncertain terms like this, like women are being degraded here. They're not, okay? If my parlance is a little aggravating, I do apologize. It's just the way that I talk. I don't want to chalk it up to that. But I am sensitive to the fact that it's not like I'm throwing this woman away. She's still valuable in Hebrew Israel. It's just he has a particular issue with her, okay? All right. Women, I always say this too. Once you start going through these mitzvot, you'll understand that women are a protected class in Hebrew Israel. That is going to become abundantly clear here. As we get further into the mitzvot, you'll see more mitzvot for the protection of women in Hebrew Israel than you will for necessarily the men, okay? The men kind of get grouped in the whole entire collective of Hebrew Israel. 9, if he has her marry his son, then he is to treat her like a daughter. It says if he marries another wife. Okay, now this is another touchy subject. Last time we talked about adultery, and all I wanted to establish what adultery was in westernized culture and what it wasn't or at least what it is and isn't in Eastern and westernized culture. That's all I was trying to do. And we ended up having an hour-long discussion about multiple wives. Okay? So this is not this type of gangster party today with this one either. Okay? I'm just pointing out, here is another example where the text talks about multiple wives. Okay? It says, if he marries another wife, he is not to reduce her food, clothing, or material rights. So we were using this one before. I got to know, since my wife ain't here, I'm going to go and tell this story. She listening. And half of y'all already know this story. So, Yamore, long time ago, in the land far away with Chewbacca and Luke Skywalker. A while ago, a couple came to us and said, would you mind if Sean took on another wife or took on our daughter as his second wife? And everybody did this. I'm sitting over there. And they did this. You know that look that you get when they over there trying to say, what are you going to say? You know? So I quoted this text. And the reason I quoted it is because my impression of the mitzvot was, okay, I read it to say this. It says here, if he fails to provide her these three things, she is not to be given her freedom or pay anything. Let's go back up. If he marries another wife, that's in 10, sorry. He is not to reduce her food, clothing, or marital rights. That means I don't have enough funds to take care of another wife. I am obligated to take care of her, okay? And I cannot reduce the provisions that I'm giving to my first wife to say, okay, you were getting 100% portion, now you're only going to get 50 because I got to go over here and take care of this other wife. No, that's not how it works. You have to give her 100 and you have to give this one 100. They are separate. Don't think that you're going to start spreading the love all around. You have to be in a financial position to take care of these women. Okay?
Oh, More, I hear you. I hear you, and I understand.
Yes.
So, to the individual who can't afford this second wife, he can't follow this mitzvah. But if I have the ways and means to be able to do that, you see what I'm saying? If we're in Hebrew Israel,
yeah,
we can do this.
yeah.
If we are in the continent of Africa, we can do this. Because I've been to Africa, and they do have multiple wives there in Africa. And when I heard it, it kind of astounded it's kind of astounded me because I'm going like, what? You know? But so in this westernized culture that we live in, it's not a viable, appropriate thing for us to engage in for two reasons. One is that the law doesn't provide for it. And number two, most women that we marry, that we're in love with, are not going to acquiesce to you and I having another woman in the house married to and having conjugal rights to. That ain't gonna happen.
Right. Yeah. This is a total. See, for us here in exile and in westernized culture, that's not something that's viable for us. Okay. I'm going to say this. I'm going to clean this one up here because I said that we wasn't going to talk about multiple wives, and this is exactly what we're doing, okay? We're just here, okay? But that's what I applied, I applied this mitzvah because I said I couldn't pay for her, right? But if I'm reading this mitzvah in its specificity, she would have to have been acquired by someone, and then that someone I would have to have married her, right? And in the event that I marry her, because her status changed from a servant to a wife now, I have certain obligations if I'm going to do the complete mitzvot the way that it's written, okay? So I'm kind of grabbing something out of this particular mitzvot to, at that time, I didn't totally understand the mitzvot and its complexity, but I use this portion of it to say, I can't do that. I can't provide for her. Now, let me clean this up, okay? Let me clean this up.
Moray, can I say one thing?
Yes, absolutely.
Through my studies, I've learned that when it says that a female servant should not go out as a male servant, in my studies, I found out that the reason that you would purchase a female servant is only to be engaged to her, which is a bride price.
Oh, okay. So there are bride prices.
And
yes.
That was the only reason she would go out as a servant. So she would be his servant, but not only was she his servant, but he bought her to be engaged to her.
Okay. Yeah.
Automatically.
And I can acquiesce to that particular way of thinking because we do have mitzvot that do talk about that. And we're actually probably going to get to some of them fairly quickly here. Okay? So let's clean this up. Multiple wives. Okay, let's say it this way. Let me do two examples, and then I'm going to give you the third last.
This is me talking. Okay? This is me talking. In the beginning, the Most High said your diet was going to be what? Every seed-bearing plant and every seed-bearing tree. Where is that? Bereshit chapter number 1, verse 29. He said, when I created them, this is what you're supposed to put in that complex machine, that super. You know what I call the human body? I call the human body a biodegradable organic supercomputer. It has a hard drive. It has all the components that you would normally see in a computer. Okay? Hard drive, operating system, all that type of stuff. It is a biodegradable, organic supercomputer that returns to where it came from. It's a beautiful design by the Most High. Okay? That's what it is. In the beginning, that's what your diet was, right? Okay. Now, somebody would have to ask the question and say, well, what about these mitzvahs that show up in Vayikra that talk about eating meat? If the Most High doesn't change, and you said that this was supposed to be our eating habits, then what's this issue about eating meat? The mitzvot gives you latitude. Let's go back to the word intent. What's the Most High's intent for your body for eating? Every seed-bearing plant, every seed-bearing tree. If you so decide that you want to have meat, eat these meats. Don't eat dog, don't eat camel, don't eat owls, don't eat pigs, don't eat any of that. If you elect to do that. But my intention was for every seed-bearing plant and every seed-bearing tree, for you as food. Let me give you example number 2. Who is the king of Hebrew Israel? Yahweh is the king of Hebrew Israel. Do we not have a mitzvot that says, or a commandment that says, when you get into the land and you look around and you look at the other nations and you want a king, I will appoint that king. I thought Yahweh was the king. Intent. Yahweh is king. Period. The end of story. I'll give you latitude that if you want a king, I'll give you one. I have to assign it. That's the latitude. Third example. In the beginning, there was one man and there was one woman. What's the intent? One man, one woman. But if you decide to have an additional wife, these are the rules that you are supposed to follow in acquiring one and how you're supposed to treat her. Okay? Oh, you're good. Intent. The intent is one. Latitude. And the latitude is based on a set of provisions. Can you pay for her? Can you take care of her? Can you protect her? Can you do all of the things that you're supposed to do? If not, then don't acquire another wife. Now, why would you have these extra wives? Because when Hebrew Israel went out and they conquered particular lands, they came back with some women. Can't have these women running around. So actually having an extra wife actually takes on this issue of doing a community issue. It's cleaning up something that says that the women are going to be taken care of. Okay? I'm talking about multiple wives. I've been on multiple wives for the last 10 minutes. I didn't say I was going to be here.
That is an excellent. That's an excellent. That's an excellent explanation to Torah.
Yeah. Yeah. You have to follow it. I mean, I'm gonna throw this other one in here too. Just a quick shout, quick, jab combo with this one. Somebody my wife is probably gonna get all over top of me about this one. Had I had the opportunity to do it all over again, and had to get married, I would not be going down to no State Department and asking them to sign some papers to do it. That's not Hebraic. Where in the mitzvot does it ever tell you to go file anything and have someone have jurisdiction over your marriage? At any one time in Hebrew Israel where the state of Hebrew Israel has jurisdiction over your marriage. Where? The Most High has established that a particular relationship between a man and a woman. All right? The Most High, the wife, and the husband. Not the Most High getting cut out and being replaced by some type of government system. Okay? To where in a dispute, I have to now not go to the Most High and seek what I'm going to need, but I'm going to the government for it. You just interjected one other entity into the situation that wasn't even ordained to be there in the first place. Okay? So, just another little piece. I got to get out of here. We haven't even got to have this thing yet. I'm 48 minutes in. I may only be going through this one chapter. Yes, ma'am. Were you getting ready to say something? Yeah, it's called a ketubah. There's a marriage contract, and the marriage ketubah is when the man presents that marriage ketubah to the wife, and then adversely, it's called a get when he has to issue her a formal release of divorce. That doesn't come from the state. That comes from him. And then that's when the marriage is dissolved. Okay? Where does she go? Now, this is where me and your moray are going to get off. We've had a discussion about this already. Where does she go? She goes back to where? Her father. What if her father is dead? Brother. Okay? That's why it's important when the family gets involved in this on who you're going to have to take care of. Okay? That's not the point we got off on. We got on something else. But this is common ground here. But, again, what did I say before about Hebrew Israel? The women are taken care of. Okay? Let's keep going. Ugh, I got to keep moving. 12. Whoever attacks, let's go back and do this. Can we do this one that we just read about the slave and having the multiple wife and the issue of her updating her, I shouldn't say slave, but servant, updating her to a wife and then doing this in exile. Can we do that in exile? No. When are you guys acquiring servants? If we're doing this to the letter of what's here, no, you can't. But then also, know that you can probably go in here and pull this and say, take that concept out of there and say, I can't acquire another wife until I'm able to take care of 100%. She's got her own Gucci. She got her own Louis. She's not borrowing from your other wife. Yes, sir.
I was going to say, on this subject, can you help me? Because I know when we get on this subject, sometimes Isaiah chapter 4 is brought up.
Okay. What is Isaiah chapter 4?
Isaiah chapter 4, verse 1.
Okay. What does it say? Read it. Let's get it together. So the issue is the moray is bringing up maybe a little conflict in the text or some thing to clear up with Isaiah chapter number 4, verse 1. Let's go there. And what is the issue? The multiple wife issue? What's the issue? What are we even talking about?
No, I'm saying, is this still aligned with the misquote? It says on
That day, 7 will.
one man said, we will supply our own food,
Mm-hmm.
our own clothing. Just let us bear your name and take away our disgrace. Is that still being aligned with what we just went over?
To say what?
Because it says right here, you know how we supposed to give every wife 100%, 100%. You
Right.
you have to apply the first part of the text. If you have to understand the first part of the text before you can go on. The first part of the text says, go back to verse 1, 4 and 1. On that day. What is on that day? See? So we have to understand what on that day means before we can apply the rest of that particular text in terms of its application. If you don't know what on that day is, in most instances, Hebrew text says when that time comes or when that day comes, it speaks about a time when the exile is over. Or it speaks about the time when Israel is being redeemed out of this world. It talks about the time in which judgment, the land is faced with judgment, and Hebrew Israel is being exiled, getting ready to be redeemed out of the land. Anytime we see in that day, when that time comes, it speaks to that.
The
So,
land, yeah.
in application here, since Isaiah is talking about a redemptive period, then on that day has to refer to a period of time that's specific to something that is going on. It's not an everyday occurrence. Got it?
Good. Yes, sir.
I'd also say that that Isaiah 4 wouldn't be so quick to say that that's about marriage.
Oh, you're saying, okay, if you read it and say, if you go back up, it says, scroll up a little bit, please. It says, we will supply, okay, if one grabs a hold of a man and say, let us, okay,
Yeah.
just let us bear your name.
Yeah, it's
Well,
not-
okay, I think it's implied when it says, let us bear your name, because they're attaching themselves to them, and that's how we get to the marriage discord in there. Okay, so, all right. We're going through these mitzvahs. This is what we're supposed to do. We're going to flush these out, okay? We good? Okay. So thus far, what we've gotten through is we've gotten through a bunch of mitzvahs that we technically can't apply in exile right now, okay? That's where we're at right now. Let's go back over. We just got through 12. Oh, matter of fact, we're at 12. 21 and 12. All right, they're going to get a little easier now, a little bit more straightforward. It says, whoever attacks a person and causes his death must be put to death. Okay, that's that. So we don't do that here in the United States. Everybody knows that, right? Okay, it's not a life for life situation. Okay.
Well, that all depends.
Yeah, within context.
Well, I mean, we're in context, but here's the thing. As an individual, if I attack some person and I cause their death, okay, then you can't put me to death. But if I go before the magistrate and there are witnesses to what has taken place, where there are witnesses there that attest that I have done something to an individual whereby it's litigated that my action is worthy of death penalty, then I can be put to death. So, I mean, it's not something that we can do individually.
Correct. That's my point, where
Yeah.
I'm getting at. That's not an individual thing.
Right.
Where we do, I'm saying making the relationship to here in the United States, you could be convicted of killing somebody and get life in prison.
Yes. Or you could get the death sentence.
Or you could get the death sentence.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Depending on that state or wherever you are, whether the capital punishment laws are. In trying to make a correlation here. In Hebrew Israel, Hebrew
individually,
caps,
we can't do this.
we can't, Hebrew Israel cannot do this in its current state right now. There is no, you killed that person, now I'm going to go kill you. You can't do that. Okay? It says, if it was not premeditated, but an act of L. What's an act of L? Right. If it wasn't premeditated, but then it says, but an act of L. If it wasn't premeditated, but an act of L. If it wasn't something that you planned to do and it was an accident, but it was an act of L, which is right, then I will designate for you a place which you can flee. Where is that?
City of refuge.
Yeah, the cities of refuge. Those are mitzvot that are going to come later on. All right? It says, but if someone willfully kills another after deliberate planning, you are to take him even from my altar and put him to death. Who is take him from the altar? Who's at the altar of the Most High? The Kohanim. Even if it's a Levite, a Kohanim that's serving, go ahead, deal with him, put him to death. Okay? So, that's the understanding. I think we're okay here. What is the intent? We're creating an environment where you shouldn't be premeditatively going and trying to kill somebody, okay? Because you know that the consequence of doing such will cause you to die, okay? So we're trying to create, this is a safety issue within Hebrew Israel, all right? If everybody's obeying the mitzvot, then Hebrew Israel is a safe place. It's a utopia of safety. Let's go on to the next one. Oh, this is a good one. It says, whoever attacks his father or mother must be put to death. Now, I know, we're going to open this up a little bit, because attacks could mean anything. Could it be a verbal attack?
Yep.
Could it be a physical attack?
Yep.
Okay.
Could be either.
It could be either. Understanding. We don't attack our parents. Period. Okay? Intent. Establishing what? Reverence for your parents. Okay? Respect. Honor. Thank you. Love those adjectives. If you don't, then guess what the penalty is? You die. It's just that serious. It says, next one. Whoever kidnaps, matter of fact, let's go back here. Can we do this one in exile? Yeah. Yes, you can. Not the back half of it if you go ahead and violate it and put somebody to death, but you can absolutely honor your parents by not attacking them. Yes, you can carry that out. It says, next one. Whoever kidnaps someone must be put to death. Okay, so the Most High is dealing with kidnappings within Hebrew Israel. You are not allowed to kidnap anybody, regardless of whether he has already sold him or the person is found in his possession. Let's read that again. Regardless of whether he has already sold him or the person is found still in his possession. I go and I kidnap you, right? And I go and I sell you, and it's found out that I kidnapped you. You can either still be in my possession, or I could be in the midst of brokering a deal for your sale. This is what it's talk about. What is this called today? Human trafficking. Okay? This is what this is. We're trying not to, we're preventing human trafficking in Hebrew Israel. What is the consequence? Does he have one in there? Doesn't. No, it is right there in the front. It says, if you kidnap somebody, what happens to you? Put to death. You die. You kidnap somebody, you die. You go ahead and you do what to your father and your mother? Attack them, you die. Right? We don't have, see, this is where they say, you guys are too strict over there. No, the Most High is establishing a protocol within his community that establishes safety amongst everybody. So if everybody's flying in the same direction, we shouldn't have, whether or not I'm going to step out of the front door of my house and get attacked today. Okay? Let's keep going. All right. We're going to, the Most High must love fathers and mothers, because here comes another one that says, whoever curses his father or mother must be put to death. We talked about, I guess an example for this for me is a curse. It's like saying, okay, when we get to Devarim chapter number 28, and it talks about the blessings and the curses that actually happen if you don't obey. So if you're over here wishing that I wish my father would die, I wish my mother would die, and I put a curse on them, blah, 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 blah. You're speaking something out into the atmosphere to have some bodily harm or whatever harm come to them. Okay? You don't do that in Hebrew Israel. You know why? Because you die. Period. There are some well-mannered children in Hebrew Israel. Ain't nobody acting out in aisle number 5, falling on the floor, and you can't talk back, because if you do, you die. Curse you, you die. Okay. You come at me trying to fight back after I'm giving this switch across your butt, you die. How's that? If two people fight, okay, here we go. Again, matter of fact, let's go back. Can we do that mitzvot? We have the understanding. We got the intent, which is to have reference for our parents. Can we do that in exile? Whoever curses his father or mother must be put to death. You can't kill anybody. But the establishment of the mitzvot says we are not to curse our father and mother. We can carry that out. Okay? If you do it, you in the graces of the Most High, because we can't carry out death. Is that? He said you might get a whooping. You get a whooping.
Can't whoop a grown man.
You said you can't whoop a grown man. He's talking to these kids. Yeah, you can't. Some of us have grown children that never mind. I'm gonna move on. Says if two people fight and one hits the other with a stone or with his fist, and the injured party does not die but is confined to his bed, then if he recovers enough to be able to walk around outside, even with a cane, the attacker will be free of liability, except to compensate him for his loss of time and take responsibility for his care until his recovery is complete. Okay, let's reframe this a different way. Let's put this in a different frame. Let's talk about this again. If two people, let's talk about the first portion of this phrase. If two people fight. Is the fight consensual? Yes. My moray went exactly where I wanted to go. If two people are in a fight and it's both consensual, I don't like you, you don't like me in this moment, we fighting over who gonna win the Super Bowl and whatnot, and you talking too much smack and I gotta put my foot up beside you anyway, and we get to fighting, right? I can't beat you to the point where I almost kill you. That's what that mitzvot is talking about. What does it say? It says, even if you take a stone or you hit him with your fist and the injured party doesn't die, that means you beat them within an inch of their life, okay? Even if you did that, and that person is confined to a bed, then if he's recovered, so you beat them within an inch of their life, and they're able to recover, and the mitzvot says you got to be able to get up outside your house and walk around outside at least with a cane. That's what we'll measure as the benchmark of actually a recovery, all right? From this beating that you got, all right? So, you're able to walk around. Then it says, what? The attacker will be free of liability because it was consensual and you both got in a fight and he beat you down a little bit further than he needed to, right? If I recover and I'm able to walk around outside, then the other person is not liable for me. But if while I'm recovering, I'm broken ribs, busted up face, all this other stuff, you have to pay for my recovery while I am recovering. That means loss of wages, you got to compensate me for, and my medical fees. What part of that is in the United States right now where you can get in a fight with somebody and the person that beat you up is paying your medical bills? That doesn't happen here, okay? That's what happens in Hebrew Israel. So what is it trying to do? It's trying to prevent you from fighting, because you don't know what's going to happen in that fight. You could slip and fall and bust your head on a rock in the midst of doing it, and guess who's got to pay for that? Me. So what is it deterring you to do? Not fight. Okay? Because, right, dear sister, it's going to be expensive at the end of the day. Yes, sir.
Within the legal system in the United States of America and other countries, if we get in a fight, another individual can file a claim for assault and battery. And if that claim for assault and battery is won by the person who pursues it, then you're going to be responsible for doing exactly this, paying compensation for his lost time and wages and what have you, because I can sue you for that.
You could sue. Yeah, you could actually sue.
Right.
Absolutely. I like the portion in this where this is pre-baked in here. Is that you get bedridden, I gotta take care of you, because you're not moving out that house. Okay? Yes, sir. It says, if two people fight and one hits the other with a stone with his fist and the injured party doesn't die. So you're being very specific by saying, I have to hit you with my fist or you have to do it on the stone. I'm expanding that a little bit, okay? So I agree with you in the sense that if you want to go by the letter of the law and say, I hit you or I picked up a stone. What if I stabbed you?
Yeah, I'll consider that, yeah.
What if I took a brick? What if I took anything, a bat, a gun? He said a broomstick, an extension cord, and I beat you. So I think the intent of the mitzvah is taking a foreign object in that particular sense. And matter of fact, my mind goes to Paul. Oh my goodness. Remember that dissertation I did on Paul? I said Paul was walking along the road and Paul had this encounter with the most high, who he thinks is JC. JC came out and blinded him, and all he had to say to him was what? Why are you persecuting me? That was enough to turn this man who had been a Hebrew his whole entire life to Christianity by him just saying, why you hate me? That was enough. But I brought up the issue. I said, when Paul fell down, I said, that sounds like to me that he fell and he slipped. And everything, all the symptoms that came out of temporal blindness, you can get from falling and hitting your head. Okay? So in this particular instance, Paul could probably go back and say, Jesus made me fall, And so therefore, he should be paying for all my bills until I get done. And if I happen to have died, he should have died too. Anyway. I'm embellishing on the mitzvot. I digress. Understanding intent, right? The intent is we're not fighting.
We're not fighting.
Right? That's the intent of the mitzvot. We understand it, and the mores went back there and said it in specificity for this usage. We got the intent. Can we do this in exile? That's the third component. Can we do this in exile? Yes, you can't fight. Just don't fight. Right? And I would expect that if we're two Hebrews, I'd probably pull this out on you. If while I'm sitting up in my hospital bed and say, you know what, his insurance is going to take care of it because he's a Hebrew. And I'm using this misquote right here. But then one can say, you're not in Hebrew Israel, so this doesn't really apply either. So you can take bits and pieces out of this and apply it based on how far you want to take it. But again, in that particular instance, that's why I love what we're doing. Because we have to combine the understanding with the intent. The intent is what? Not to fight. If you're not fighting, then you never get to that point. Right? It's okay. So let's move on. Oh, my gosh. Let's move. We're only going to get through 21 today. Okay? Because this is pretty extensive. It says, if a person beats his male or female, let's use the word servant, with a stick so severely that he dies, he is to be punished, except that if the slave or servant lives for a day or two, he is not to be punished, since the slave is his or servant is his property. This is a tough one because this reads exactly verbatim, okay? I would say the intent of this one here is so we're treating our servants or individuals that work for us or do things for us humanely. That we're not going to the point. I mean, it says, I guess you can put your hands on them if they going that far, but this one's a tough one, all right? This one I would have to relent and say having its full understanding and its complete capacity, unless you're going verbatim on it, I would need to see this in the land. This one right here. So I'm going to skip forward a little bit and say, can we do this in exile? No. Okay? So you're aware of it, but you can't do it, all right? Okay. Let's move on. If people are fighting, consensual fighting with each other, and happen to hurt whom? Here's that I told you that protected class. A pregnant woman. So let's take the mitzvot before that says we ain't really supposed to be fighting, but in our tussling, there's a pregnant woman that's there, and what happens? Let's read on. Okay. It said a pregnant woman hurts a pregnant woman so badly that her unborn child dies. Then, even if no other harm follows, what does that mean? If nothing else happens to what? Either the mother or the child, he must be fined. So I hurt you, right? So badly that the unborn child dies, then even if no other harm follows. Now we got to go back and clean that up a little bit, because you see where it says if it happens to a hurt pregnant woman so badly that her unborn child dies, so the child has to die, then even if no other harm follows. So now we take out the unborn child part of it and put it on the mom. So it's anything that happens to the mom afterwards. We're fighting, child dies. If the mom has complications or no complications, that's what we're getting ready to deal with after the child has died. If no other harm follows, so no other complications happens to the person of the mother, then he must be fined, that person that hurt her. It says he must pay the amount set by the woman's husband. Let's stop there for a second. She's pregnant. And the mitzvot establishes that she has a what? A husband. That's setting a precedent, right? That says what? Intercourse is marriage. In the event that now you have a child that comes out of this. Okay? It says the woman's husband and confirmed by judges. So not only the man's going to have to go ahead and give you the price for this, you're going to have to go to the judges and get it confirmed there. Obviously, I would think that that would be a good thing to do, because if he's doing something exorbitant, you have some oversight to say, okay, this is what's fair. Okay? He must pay the amount set by the woman's husband and confirmed by judges. 23. But if any harm follows, now let's say something happened to her body, then you are what? This is a famous one. We use it all the time. A life for a life, a tooth for a tooth. Come on, what else does it say there? It says an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, a hand for a hand, a foot for a foot, burn for a burn, wound for a wound, and bruise for a bruise. So what it's saying is that if she dies, you hurt that baby while she was pregnant, and that baby dies, and now she has further complications to the point where she now dies, then that person dies. If she now has, okay, something happened to her eye, she loses her sight, then guess where your eyes are going? You're getting your eyes plucked out too, okay? So we kind of used that before when we were across the street for getting per payback. But this is actually a mitzvah specific to fighting amongst Hebrews, and a pregnant woman gets hurt, and now she has further complications, and then we apply it and say, okay, whatever her complications are, that's what happens to you. That's the understanding. What's the intent? Again, I'm going to go back to not fighting, because if we ain't fighting, we ain't hurting nobody, okay? Okay, so this is reinforcing the issue for innocent bystanders that are getting hurt because of you two clowns that want to go tussle in the street. Okay? Stop fighting. All right. Let's go on. It says, if in 26, man, okay. I think I'm going to, we're doing this one and that's it. We're doing this chapter and that's it. If a person hits his male or female's servant's eye and destroys it, he must let him go free in compensation for the eye. So you're in servitude, and I go and I hit you so hard enough to damage your body enough, instantaneously, boom, you're free. Okay? You probably owed me some money, probably the reason why you were a servant. Your debt just got erased because I went ahead and damaged you or did something to you. Okay? That's the compensation for me hurting you. All right? If he knocks out his male or female servant's tooth, he must let him go free in compensation for the tooth. That's all that's saying there, okay? We're not abusing individuals that work for us. So that's the intent of it. It's being humane to the individuals that are around you, okay? All right. Can we do that in exile? You can be nice to everybody. You can be cordial. You can, amongst Hebrews, we're supposed to have a camaraderie amongst ourselves. This is kind of establishing a culture within Hebrew Israel, okay? On how we treat one another, all right? You can do this in exile, but the portion of it where it says, if I happen to do something to you, well, first of all, matter of fact, let me correct that. You can't do this because we don't have servants or slaves, okay? So let's just eradicate that right out the gate. This one cannot be applied in exile. 28. If an ox gores a man or a woman to death, the ox is to be stoned and its flesh not eaten. But if the owner of the ox will have no further liability. However, if an ox was in the habit of goring in the past and the owner was warned and did not confine it, what is he saying at the first part? You got gored by an ox, okay, crap happens. You know, it wasn't intentional, it was an accident, okay? But if that ox has a habit of doing this, now we're dealing with that portion of the text. It says, however, if an ox was in the habit of goring in the past, the owner was warned but didn't confine it so that it ended up killing a man or woman, then the ox is to be stoned and the owner is to be put to death. Okay. What is the intent thus far? The intent here is now that we got a clear understanding of what the mitzvot is saying, you know, you are supposed to take care of your own your own sheep. And your own ox. Protecting community from a potential danger that could harm someone. Making sure that whatever is under your possession stays in your possession and that it is safe to operate around other people, okay? And if in the event here, what this establishing is that if you were warned about it and you knew that this was happening, guess what the responsibility, the atonement is going to be? You die. Yes, sir. Right. Right. That's an exact. Thank you for making that reference. There is a mitzvot that says if you have a house, put a parapet and have a roof. Put a parapet across the top of it. Why? Because you don't want anybody to go and fall off your roof. The intent of that is to make sure that you're providing safety from somebody. If I have a pool and I have little children around my pool should be protected. Okay? Okay, we can apply not the ox or sheep portion of this, but substitute that for anything that's in our possession that could harm to someone else. So you can do this mitzvah, part of it, in exile, not the part where we warned you and there's a death thing that happened, because we're still under the auspices of the laws of this country, okay? We can't go out and do vigilante justice while we're in exile, okay? It says, what do you got highlighted there? It says, however. Where are you at? Oh, that's where I'm at next. It says, 29. It says, however, if the ox, however, 30. However, a ransom may be imposed on him, and the death penalty will be commuted if he pays the amount imposed. Okay, that's a new component of this, right? It says, however, a ransom may be imposed on him, and the death penalty may be commuted if he pays the amount. So there's a way to pay to get out of this. It says, if the ox gores a son or daughter, the same rules apply. If the ox gores a male or female slave, its owner must give their master 12 ounces of silver, and the ox is to be stoned to death. So it's establishing this restitution for this situation that's created because you couldn't keep your stuff under control. Okay? And there's a way to kind of get out of it a little bit with this ransom that's imposed in there. But again, what is the intent of the myth? First of all, can we do this in exile? Not in its totality. Okay. So what is the intent of the mitzvot? Safety. Making sure that you take care of your own stuff. Your problem, if I have a dog that jumps over the fence and turns around and tears somebody up on the other side of the fence, okay, I'm liable, obviously, and here I'd be liable as well. But if I know about that dog has a problem like that, my German Shepherd has a problem like that, then in Hebrew Israel, you could be imposed a death penalty on for you for that because you didn't prevent it. Okay. It's putting personal responsibility back on the people. Again, when we were over in Christianity, people are not going through this to let you understand. Hopefully you're picking up what the Most High's intent for his people is, which is to create a safe environment for his people, to have interactions between people that are cordial, that are respectable, that we respect everybody that's in Hebrew Israel, even the foreigner that's with us. We treat them the same. The Most High has a tranquil community. The Most High has a peaceful community. La Paz. He has all of these things that make up Hebrew Israel. And we're not taught that because you're taught that the mitzvot have been done away with. You don't need to study them. When you don't study the mitzvot, remember I said earlier today, I said I had a win because I'm studying my second language, which is Spanish, by the way. You learn, this is the problem that I had with Spanish. For years, can I take a sidebar real quick? We only got a couple more minutes, and then I'm going to let y'all go anyway because we only finish up in the last part of this chapter. We ain't even getting into 22. I had a win this week because for some odd reason, the Most High allowed me to see something. He said, you're over here trying to learn this language, and you're trying to do vocabulary word for vocabulary word. That's not how you learn another language. You don't sit there and say, okay, this word, matter of fact, let me give you an example how easy it is to get caught up into that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I went to 13. There's a 1-for-1 match between each one of those words. 1. It's not the game. What is it? 1, 2. 3 is what? 3, 4, 4, right? In math, it works. In trying to understand the grammar, it doesn't. There's a rule in Spanish that says that the noun precedes the descriptor. That says, that's when they say Casa Blanca. It's the house that's white. The noun is the house. The descriptor is in the back. You say the White House. You put the descriptor in the front and the noun in the back. Someone had to come and tell me, you need to stop learning vocabulary and start learning the function of how the language works. Because once you learn the formula, which that word is categorized as grammar, once you learn all of your adjectives, your pronouns, how those get structured in the sentence, then you can drop any vocabulary word you want into the system you want. Okay? More or less. Okay? So it works kind of that way. Once I understood that, the language opened up to me. Because now I'm just applying different endings and genders and things that I'm just following the rule. And I'm not worried about vocabulary because when I go someplace, I'm going to use the vocabulary for that place. I don't need to open. How many of you speak English? Thank you. Some of y'all speak English. And I'm glad that we're going to, because I'm getting ready to say that. Because if I was an alien that landed from the planet Nigatoris, I wouldn't actually want to go to the hood to learn English because y'all don't know how to speak anything at all. If you want a good representation of how not to speak English, go to the hood. Okay? We make up a lot of stuff. But the point in bringing all that up is to understand I couldn't apply my westernized mind of English to another language because I won't understand how the sentence structure goes together. What is my point, again, with all this? In understanding the sentence structure and how the language works, I understand the people. I understand how they think. Okay? I understand a little bit more about that culture. Okay? It opened up a lot for me. And that was a major win for me this week. And so I'm only saying that, again, to say we're applying, again, continue to keep applying your Hebrew cap to this, okay? Stop trying to go word for word, or this is what we do in, I know we're doing it now, but this is what happens here, and this is Hebrew Israel. That's why I think there's a part of a problem there for people that can't acquiesce to what we're talking about over here, because they keep applying westernized rules to Hebrew thought. That's why it doesn't translate well. And it will never translate well because you're trying to drop English formula or westernized formula into an Eastern formula. And it doesn't work. Okay? So, let's keep going. Only got a little bit more time left before y'all completely go to sleep. It says, where are we at? 33? Oh, we almost done. Okay. If someone removes, okay. Go too much further before the y'all will understand the intent of what this is talking about, right? We're going to get out of the first sentence. You'll understand the intent. If someone removes the cover from a cistern and digs one and fails to cover it, what do you think the intent of that mitzvot is? Safety. Okay? Or and an ox or donkey falls in. Check this out. It says the owner of the cistern must make good the loss by compensating the animal's owner, but the dead animal will be his. I have a cistern. It's a hole in the ground. I didn't cover it up. Donkey falls in it. Horse falls in it. Something falls in it. Okay? Number one, I'm going to pay you for your loss. And guess what else is your problem? Getting them dead animals out of the bottom of that cistern, which is going to cost you some money too. So either way around this, you having to pay somebody for their loss and then also having to go and pay to get all that stuff up out of there, which is going to be a pain in the butt, it would probably behoove you to make sure that you build that parapet around your house to make sure that nothing falls in. This is a safety issue, okay? Not only for personal protection, but for protecting other people's property as well from you. If everybody is minding their P's and Q's, what does P's and Q's stand for? P's and Q's. We say that all the time in the Midwest. I said soup to nuts last time, and y'all were just like, oh, what in the world is soup to nuts? That's from beginning to end. What is mind your P's and Q's? What does that stand for? What? Be thorough. Be thorough. Complete, be thorough. Mind your P's and Q's. When we went into the grocery store, my mother said, listen, when we go down this cereal aisle, I want y'all to mind y'all P's and Q's. Where does that come from? It comes from, it's a bar term. It's a term that comes from a bar. When you sit down at a bar overseas, they will offer you either a pint or a quart. So it's saying, mind your P's, your pints, and your Q's, your quarts. Keep your attention on your own stuff. That's where that comes from. Okay? A little nerdy information. Make sure that your stuff is taken care of. Mind your own business. Make sure that you don't establish something that's going to hurt somebody else. Okay? Can we do this in exile? Because this one is a conceptual one. Can we do this in exile? Absolutely. It's in play in exile. You have a responsibility for making sure that nothing that you own hurts somebody else. Okay? On your property, on your person, or anything else. We protect each other in Hebrew Israel. We're a community. We're a family. Okay, let's keep going. 35. If one person's ox hurts another's so that it dies, they are to sell the live ox and divide the revenue from the sale. And they are also to divide the dead animal. But if it's known that the ox was in the habit of goring in the past, here it comes up again, and the owner did not confine it, he must pay for the ox, but the dead animal will be his. Kind of the same deal as the one prior to it. You going in there, your ox does something, you're liable for, you're going to split the proceeds if you do decide to go that way, but you're still going to have to deal with that dead animal, okay, at the end. There's some restitution that has to be made. Again, intent here, mind your P's and Q's. Make sure your stuff is under your control so it doesn't cause any harm to anyone else. It's like the Most High is actually giving you different scenarios upon which the same concept keeps coming up over and over and over and over and over again, right? Okay. Last one. This is 37, and this may be 22, depending on what your 22 and 1, if you're reading from another translation. It says, if someone steals an ox, do we need to go any further? Do we need to go any further with the understanding or the intent? We don't steal. So anything coming after this is just going to be atonement based, okay? So the intent here is we're not stealing from each other. So if this happens, this is what's going to happen to you, okay? I don't have to worry about leaving my iPhone unchecked somewhere. I know you're not going to take it. It's okay. I'll leave that $100 there. I know you ain't going to take it. You might. But if you do, hasta la vista. Okay, let's keep going. It says, if someone steals an ox or a sheep and slaughters or sells it, here's the restitution ratio here. He is to pay 5 oxen for an ox and 4 sheep for a sheep. Now, in specificity, agricultural folk, Hebrew people are, this is dealing with people that are actually dealing with, that are herdsmen and whatnot. This is what this is applying to. So let's exhaust this issue or extract the herd portion out of it, okay? And let's try to apply this to something that's a little bit more germane to where we are. If someone steals something, let me read this a different way. If someone steals something, or it's damaged or sells it, then he must pay 5 times for that particular amount. And in this one, it established a lesser amount for a particular sheep, for this particular animal, okay? If I steal something, this is what I'm taking away from this. If I steal something and I need to return it or make restitution for it, I got to give you back 5 times the amount that I took, okay? I stole $1,000 from you, I owe you 5,000 back. Okay? It's expensive. Okay? You must be a darn good thief. Okay? Because Folsom Prison is full of them that are failed at it horribly. Okay? So, understand that. If you steal something, it could either be 4 to 5 times the amount of what you stole has to be returned in restitution to that particular person. Can we do this as Hebrew Israel? We can amongst ourselves. Yeah. But I stopped you at the first 4 words. If someone steals or a thief is caught, matter of fact, if someone steals, we're not supposed to steal. You got that commandment earlier from the Most High in the first 10 when he spoke to Hebrew Israel. He said, do not steal. Okay? So here again, this is just another mitzvot that confirms what the Most High is saying. And when you look at the intent of these mitzvot, they're really going to break down to really something simple. Community, safety, reverence for the Most High, reverence for one's elders, respect, all of these things, and camaraderie among each other. That's all these break down to. He's going to keep giving you examples and examples and examples of the same thing over again. Okay? 4 tenets. I'm going to give you this last one, and then we're going to go, and I'm going to have you stand up. So we're ready to put that Bod Midbar 6 up. There are 4 tenets that we're going to continue to keep focusing on when we're in here. What are the 4? A set-apart land for a set-apart people with a set-apart set of mitzvot that has a set-apart, all-existent spirit to govern them all. Those are the 4. If you want to understand anything about what's going on in Hebrew Israel, or anything of what you call the Old Testament, which we don't, the Hebrew text is what we call it, the Hebrew scriptures, anything in there, they all boil down to those 4 tenets. People, land, mitzvot, Most High. That's it. If you are in alignment with all of those, you got the whole entire book set up, or the whole entire text set up, okay? We're going to keep reinforcing that. We good? I thought I was going to get through 22 today, but that didn't happen. Moray, you good? Good. All right, Moray, you good? Ambassador Tate, you good? Moray Holman, the Honorable B. You good? Okay. Brother Charles, you good? Always. All right, we good. We got a good house. We can land this plane now. The captain has turned off the fasten seatbelt sign. You can raise till you stand to your feet. Okay, we're going to continue, and I didn't expect this from, I expected that we were going to slow down a little bit to go through these mitzvot, but this is a good pace. Is everybody okay with how we're trying to unravel these and unfold this and get an understanding and get some of an intent and an application? Don't let anybody tell you that they've been done away with. They're in play. It's just you just can't do them because you're not in the land. The vast majority of them, okay? Moray, do you have anything that you want to say? Okay. For the house, okay. So let me bless you. It comes from Bod Midbar, chapter number 6, verse 24 through 26. It says, Yivarekaka, Yahweh v'yishmareka, Yair, Yahweh panave leka v'huneka yisa, Yahweh panave leka v'yasam laka shalom. Which simply means in English, may Yahweh bless you and keep you. May Yahweh make his face to shine on you and show you his favor. May Yahweh lift up his face towards all of you and give you shalom. West Coast Hebrews until next time.